unless you turn around and look at the screen in back, because the front screen is not working right now, we're going to be singing the opening hymn, number 159 in the gray hymnal, "This Is My Song." Please rise in body or spirit. This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and mine. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other help and other lands are waiting, with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on clover, leaf, and pine. But other lands have sunlight too, and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, thou God of all the nations, good God of peace for their land and for mine.
Seated. Do I have sound? I do have sound. Okay. I never know these days. Have you noticed the world feels like it's falling apart in about a bazillion different ways? Which includes like our projector being moody and not always wanting to show things. So, welcome. I am the Reverend Monica Jacobson-Tennessen. I use she, her pronouns. I serve this congregation as minister. And I am so glad to see you this morning because it has been a week. And just 1 week. So before we do anything else, I want to invite you to make sure that your phone is silenced. If you're joining us via the live stream, turn off or mute whatever you need to resist the urge to doom scroll during the service. This is a doom scrolling free zone for the next hour or so. It is not good for us to be bombarded with constant things that cause us anxiety and fear and confusion and pain. So just go ahead and hold it at arm's length for the next hour. I'll write you a permission note if you need one. You are welcome here, just as you are. Whatever beliefs sustain you, whomever you love, however you understand and express your identities, and in all the ways you are still becoming the person you will be. You are welcome here if you come in today feeling scared. You are welcome here if you are discouraged or angry. You are welcome here if you are shocked, but also kind of not surprised. You are welcome here if it's just all way too much to take in. And you are welcome here if what you are carrying in your own life is more than enough to deal with before we even touch what is happening in the news. We come together to be a community of support and connection and compassion. And it takes all of us to make such a community real. So take in a good deep breath. Feel the way the air comes in and fills your body. Feel it go out. Know that you are here in this gathering and not anywhere else. And we are so glad to be together.
We are a diverse group of proud kindred spirits. We're not here by coincidence or coercion. We're here because we choose to journey together. We are active and proactive. We care deeply, and we live our truths as best we can. Please join me this morning in speaking our affirmation. Love is our doctrine. Compassion is our way. Here we seek to create a joyful home for free religious exploration, build a community of caring fellowship, nurture the needs, and serve the needs of our world.
The songs that I've chosen to sing today are two songs that have very important psychological, emotional meaning for me. Born Free from the movie Born Free, and The Impossible Dream from the musical Man of La Mancha. Back in the 60s and 70s, I really needed to hear these songs. They became part of the therapy that I was getting. And it wasn't so much the words of the songs, but it was the titles that I turned into a mantra, even though I don't think I knew what a mantra was back then. But I repeated this phrase over and over again, born free to dream the impossible dream. And I probably repeated that thousands of times over several years to maintain some hope to get to the life that now is much better than I ever thought I would have had back then. Born free as the wind blows, as free as the grass grows, born free to follow your heart. Live free and beauty surrounds you. The world still astounds you each time you look at a star. Stay free where no walls divide you. You're free as a morning tide, so there's no need to hide. Born free, and life is worth living, but only worth living 'cause you're born free.
Thank you, Joel. UU congregations, fellowships, and churches around the country, actually around the world, are lighting chalices this morning as a symbol of our faith, as a symbol of our unity, our heritage, and our hope for a brighter future. Here at UUCS, it is our tradition to light 3 chalices each Sunday morning as we begin our service. The first is for this congregation, its friends, its members, everybody here, everybody watching on social media. The second is for our partner church, which is located in Šimanvalva, Transylvania, Romania. That's always fun to say. And we light our lantern for the children and youth those in our religious education program, and for children around the world who are our hope and our future. Please join me in singing The Flame into Life. Rise up, O flame, by thy light growing, show to us beauty, vision, and joy.
Hi, good morning. I'm Carrie Lynn Patterson, and I'm the new assistant director back in the RE. So today I'm going to read a story. If anybody young at heart or children want to come down, come on up front. Oh, I need it closer. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the fourth week of exploring the practice of story. Today we are going to be exploring and telling a love story. Now I know some of you might be saying, what, a love story at church? Well, it is called the Platinum Rule. Once upon a time there was a child who had been taught to live by the Golden Rule. Has anybody ever heard of the Golden Rule? An easy way to say it is treat others as you wanted to be treated. At first, the child thought that this was a great idea and that it would help them make them a bunch of friends. So they decided that they were going to stick to this rule no matter what. On their first day of school, they decided to make a bunch of PB&J sandwiches because those was their favorite, and take them to school to give all to the kids. The next morning, the child was as happy as could be and skipped all the way to school. At snack time, the child began handing out sandwiches to the rest of the class, but to their surprise, 2 kids in the class tried to give them back. The child was confused and hurt, but they stuck to the Golden Rule and said, "These are my favorite, and I want to treat you the way I wanted to be treated, so you must eat them." This turned into a big argument, and the teacher eventually had to set in. The teacher took the child aside and asked them why they would insist that the class eat the sandwiches. The teacher smiled and said, "I completely understand. However, those 2 children are allergic to peanuts and would never have been able to eat these sandwiches." The child was heartbroken. This was not what they had wanted at all. The teacher, seeing how upset they got, said, "I have a better idea. Have you ever heard of the Platinum Promise?" The child shook its head. "Well, then let me tell you." The teacher said, "You were trying to live by the Golden Rule that tells you to treat others as you want to be treated. But the Platinum Promise asks to treat people the way they would want to be treated." The child liked sound of this and asked the children if they liked the just jelly sandwiches. The truth is, they both did very much, and so the next day the child brought in 2 plain jelly sandwiches for their new friends and one PB&J for herself. I think many of us have been taught the Golden Rule on the surface. This is a great rule, but when we look deeper, it really only works if everyone is the same as you are. So may we especially hold on to the lesson as we head off to our RE space and to explore it more. Oh, yeah. And can we all create the love arch and so the kids can go in the RE? Thanks. Sorry.
Thank you. We pause for a moment to share compassion or gratitude during our services. And today, it's going to look a little different because this is a time in the life of our world for active compassion. Since the 19th century, some Unitarian Universalists have shared this covenant, which was first articulated by the Reverend L. Griswold Williams. Love is the doctrine of this church, the quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God, or we might say, with what is ultimate to us. So what does this covenant call us to do in these times when it is impossible to even keep up with the fire hose of oppressive and discouraging actions coming at us? What kinds of actions are we called to out of compassion for all with whom we share this country, out of gratitude even for the opportunity in our lives to choose the actions that we take? I think first we start with ourselves and what we are asked to do in the service of love and truth. We are called to learn what we need to learn in order to be the most welcoming, most inclusive community we can be. So for each community or group of people you can identify as under attack right now, ask yourself, what do I not know that I need to know? If you are a cisgender person, someone whose gender identity aligns with the gender that everybody guessed you were when you were born, then now is a good time to learn about the experience of people who are transgender and non-binary and gender expansive. If you are someone who is white, now is a good time to learn about the experiences of Black Americans, Indigenous Americans, Latina Americans, Asian Americans, everyone who does not share the experience that you have of moving through the world, who knows something different about what it has meant to live in this country and to navigate. If you are somebody who is currently mostly able-bodied, because I don't think anybody is 100% able-bodied when we get down to it. Did you know glasses are assistive technology? If you are currently mostly able-bodied, now is a good time to learn what accessibility practices really mean, to study the history of Americans with disabilities, to figure out what it takes to welcome people, and so on. Really, we could stand here all day and I could start listing things. If you are somebody who has been born a citizen of this country, learn about what it takes to immigrate here. You can continue the list, right? If you are someone whose marriage is not going to be challenged, learn about what it has taken to have marriage equality for people whose partners are the same gender identity or people who have different racial identities. Learn what you need to learn so that when people come saying, is this a place I can be welcome? In whatever way you do not share that person's experience, you will know a little more about how to say with confidence, yes, yes, you are welcome here. And second, find what you can do to act locally in the spirit of service. Do not allow yourself to be overwhelmed by the bad national news or the bad global news. There will be times when we will be able to do things that affect change on a national level. But most of the time, we are most effective in our communities and in our state. And we are perhaps the most effective in our immediate circles, So check on your neighbors who are scared. And when you are scared, allow your neighbors to check on you. They want to. And for a lot of us, accepting help and care is so much harder than giving it. So when someone says, "How are you doing?" if you can, in that relationship, be real with them. And then find simple actions you can take. Bring food to someone who is hungry, whether that's making an extra casserole for your neighbor who has 4 kids, or whether that's bringing food to put in the wagon here that goes to the Marion Polk Food Bank. Volunteer, because serving together is important for strengthening bonds of community. And not only is it important for us to feel less alone, but having bonds of community is part of what it takes to be less vulnerable to rising fascism. And find just one way to be engaged politically. Whether that's one of those daily action emails, or whether that's picking one issue that is important to you and focusing on that one issue. Do not ask yourself to do it all, but do find one thing that you can do and trust that others are doing the same. This is a ritual we can use to keep ourselves stable and to keep contributing toward making the space for the world that we know is still possible. I hope you will join me in these actions.
Good morning. I'm Rhonda Holt. I'm one of your lay pastoral ministers, Lifeline ministers. We have 2 sorrows today. Both come from Molly Kennedy. She says, "Please keep Sarah Chateau in our prayers as she heals from surgery and COVID-19. She also says, "Please keep Miriam, my chosen sister, in your prayers as she continues to navigate her illness." And as we do each Sunday, we light one more candle for those private joys or sorrows that remain unspoken. Okay. Lifeline's lay ministers are fellow members who extend ministry to members and friends of the congregation who are experiencing loss, illness, or any type of personal or family crisis. You can reach out to us by visiting the Lifeline's table in Hanneman Hall each Sunday after the service. Our lavender badges say Lifeline's lay minister, and we wear the purple stole. You can also contact us at the email address on your screen. You can post your joys and concerns in the book in the foyer before church. You can also post them online. 1 week before, on 2 Sundays, there will be a Compassionate Connections meeting after the church service for emotional support. If you're interested, please join us here in the front.
Okay, sorry about that. So, Heart Song, we remain seated, number 95 in the gray hymnal. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it.
Today's first reading is from the booklet of Brief Questions about Unitarianism, written in 1901 by Hajam Kisser Singh and Robin Roy of the Unitarian Union of Northeast India. What are the sources of knowledge about God? 1, from our own conscience. 2, from our parents and friends. 3, from the teachings of Jesus and all saintly people. 4, from all the religious scriptures. 5, from all things like the universe, all things in this universe, like the sun, the moon, the stars, and from all things above and beneath, which are the true Holy Scriptures, from which we can learn about God because they are all his creations. What is our relationship to God? That God is our Father, Mother, and that all people are his, her children. What is our duty to our fellow human beings? Our duty to our fellow human beings is to love them. How do we love our fellow human beings? 1, to love our fellow human beings means that we should not be suspicious of, speak ill of, do something wrong to, or speak rudely to anyone. 2, that we should not have ill feelings for or be jealous of anybody or sulk or quarrel with anybody. 3, that we should not think in terms of our prosperity at the expense of others, but we ought to help, to coexist in peace and keep goodwill with all fellow human beings. 4, in short, that we do unto others as we wish others to do unto us without expecting reciprocation.
Now, maybe, in light of our Time for All Ages story, today we might write that to say, we do unto others as they wish to have done unto them. But either way, did you know that there is a community of Unitarians in Northeast India that is more than 100 years old? I heard some yeses. Awesome. I also see a lot of no's. Also awesome. There are about 10,000 Unitarians in Northeast India. So one of the things that I love about our faith is the way that it gets independently invented in various different times and places, each time influenced by the cultures and the questions of the time and the place, and yet still recognizably Unitarian Universalist. We can tell stories about the ways that the Pilgrims and the Puritans who came from Europe to colonize North America became Unitarians. We can tell stories about the folks in England and North America who became Universalist. We can tell stories of the form of Unitarianism in Transylvania, which is in present-day Romania, and how the people there became Unitarian. And if you don't know those stories, stay tuned, because we'll tell them in some future services. But today, I want to tell 2 stories about times and places where our faith has bubbled up that may be less familiar to you. In the late 19th century, in the Khasi Hills of Northeast India, there lived a man named Jacobson-Tennessen Singh. Hajam's community called themselves Khasi, which was also the name of their religion. They had never practiced Hinduism, unlike many other parts of India. And then in the mid-19th century, missionaries who were Welsh Calvinists came to the Khasi Hills and began converting people to their form of Christianity. By the time he was 15, Hajim had been converted to Reform Christianity, and then he became what is literally officially known as a questioning member of the Methodist Church. This is auspicious for our story. Hajim, as a young man, kept a journal about his questions and his exploration and his research, and he found that he just couldn't believe in this idea that only some people, only the people who said the right creed and did the right things, would be saved, and that everyone else would go to hell. He found that although he thought Jesus was a good spiritual teacher, he didn't think Jesus was literally a part of God. He thought that the Christian scriptures had some wisdom to offer, but so did his lived experience, so did his community, so did their traditions. And without knowing it, he had arrived at essentially the same place that Unitarians had arrived at in North America and in Transylvania. When Hajim was 25, he learned that there was a man in Kolkata who shared his religion. Imagine this. Someone says, Hajim, that interesting, kind of weird stuff you say all the time, there's actually a white guy who says it too. The man was the Reverend Charles Henry Appleton Dall. He was an American Unitarian minister. And Hajim and Charles began writing many, I assume, excited letters back and forth to each other. Charles began to send books to Hajim. He sent him William Ellery Channing's writings on American Unitarianism and other texts of the time. And when Charles Dall died in 1886, Hajim grieved not only for his friend, but also because he didn't know how he was going to be able to keep connecting with Unitarians elsewhere. Now he knew he wasn't alone. He and his community could be part of a global network. Fortunately, after Charles died, a woman named Helen Tompkins took over corresponding with Hajim Kesser Singh. She sent him materials, including copies of the Unitarian magazine. And then through the magazine, Hajim connected with a minister named Jabez Sunderland, who was serving the congregation in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Jabez was the magazine's editor. Jabez kept sending more materials to Hajim, and he raised money to help Hajim publish the first Kasi Unitarian hymnal, and by 1889, Hajim's congregation had been able to acquire a building in which they operated an elementary school during the week. When Jabez was able to visit the Kasi Hills in 1896, this is what he wrote afterwards. I have never been more impressed with any religious movement than this in the Kasi Hills. Everywhere I saw evidences, sincerity, consecration, and warm attachment to the religious faith, which the people felt had done so much for them. The whole movement is unique in the fact that it has sprung from the soil. It is my privilege to aid in the formation of a Kasi Hills Unitarian Union. Last year, the Shillong Times, a local paper in the Kasi Hills, did a feature on the 137th anniversary of the Unitarian Union of Northeast India. And they wrote this: looking ahead, the principles of Kasi Unitarianism are perhaps more relevant than ever. In an increasingly polarized world, the call to foster inclusive and compassionate communities resonates with fresh urgency. The legacy of Kasi Unitarianism challenges us to rise above our divisions, embrace diversity, and work towards a world where justice and equality are not just lofty ideals, but everyday realities. Does any of that feel resonant to you? Yeah. Okay, so story number 2. Fast forward to the late 20th century and take yourself to the country of Burundi, located in East Africa, just south of Rwanda. In the late 1990s, there was a young man there studying to be a Catholic priest. Catholicism is the dominant religion in Burundi, by which I mean 64% of people in Burundi are Catholic. So if you want to be religious, Catholicism is often the way to go. This young man, named Mwabutsiwaneza Ndagijimana, was studying the Bible, taking his classes, and he was finding that for him, he didn't see evidence for the Trinity, the three-in-one understanding of God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit. And that's not great news if you're a Catholic seminarian. He also couldn't find any evidence in the Bible about hell. This is also not great news. So, this being the early days of the internet, he was able to get online. He was like, has anybody else arrived at these religious beliefs that I seem to be the only one to have? Good news. Other people had. It turns out it was called Unitarian Universalism. So he emailed the contact address he found for the International Council of Unitarians and Universalists and got connected to a minister, the Reverend Jill McAllister, who was serving the church in Kalamazoo, Michigan. With the help of fundraising and support from congregations in Michigan and elsewhere in North America, Mwabutsiwaneza was able to establish a Unitarian church in Burundi. And it was not easy because the government did not like this new congregation, and they decided they were going to shut them down by giving them an ultimatum. Either you build a building for your church or you will be banned as a false religion. But the exchange rate being what it is, having friends in North America really helps you build a building in Burundi. They were able to construct and dedicate their building in 2011, and then the congregation turned their attention to helping the most marginalized in Bujumbura. They focused on domestic violence prevention, partnering with local schools, establishing scholarship programs, and supporting microfinance initiatives. Give a wave if you're part of this congregation's microfinance team. I know some of you are here, right? This is another grand UU tradition. They worked to build a network of emerging UU communities throughout Francophone East Africa. Did you know there are UUs not only in Burundi, but in Rwanda and in Kenya? Did you know? We're everywhere. So I find it remarkable that Unitarian Universalism is something that people arrive at from their different times and their different places. And I find it delightful, because it's like the way we come as individuals to our congregations, bringing our own life stories and our own spiritual paths and our own questions. And together, we make a whole that holds what we have in common and what is different among us. It is like something bubbling up, like wellsprings coming forth from the earth.
Today's second reading is from a worship service at a gathering of the International Council of Unitarians and Universalists in 2006, offered by Kinga Reka Sekeli, a minister in the Hungarian Unitarian Church. I think that although we Unitarians and Unitarian Universalists have so many precious treasures, such as faith, hope, and love, one very unique treasure of ours is the free will that God gave us, which makes us responsible for our own lives. And we are also responsible for the life of humankind. A great Hungarian writer, the late Baz Alberg, says in one of his writings that there are two kinds of people: those who make good bricks and those who make bad bricks. He also said that 98% of people think that if they don't do anything bad, that's good enough. His idea is that in order to make this world a better one, we should create good bricks. I think that if we really believe in this God-given free will, then we have to create good bricks.
Our Transylvanian Unitarian cousins are almost universally theist. As you may have noticed from our readings and our stories, so are the folks in the Unitarian Union of Northeast India. And I want to pause to say, I know that can be challenging for North American UUs, where our congregations have much more space for atheism and agnosticism and paganism and all sorts of traditions that do not center one monotheistic God. But I also want to say that last August, when I had the privilege of traveling to Transylvania, I heard one of the Hungarian Unitarian ministers explain how she and her congregation understand their theism. She said, "We don't believe in a God who intervenes in the world and does things. It's more like when we study evolution and the marvelous way that living things evolved, God is the name for the good fortune that led to evolution producing us and everything we know instead of something else." And I leaned over to a friend and whispered, "Oh, that's part of my theism too." So if the word God is a difficult one for you, remember, you can interpret it in many different ways, including simply a name for the great good fortune that we are here at all. And I did not appreciate either, until that trip to Transylvania, what the partner church program really means. We light a chalice here for our partner congregation in Šimanfalva. We are one of several hundred American congregations who have partner congregations in Transylvania, and some have partners in Northeast India and in the Philippines. And what I knew before I went was kind of the basics of the partner church program. I knew that Gabriel Chiki, a Hungarian Unitarian minister, had founded a Unitarian partner church program after World War I, but then the global economic depression at the end of the 1920s ended those partnerships. Briefly resurrected again after the Second World War, these partnerships with Transylvanian congregations were again interrupted by the communist regime of Nicolae Ceausescu, and a time when church activity was a target of great repression. In 1989, after the fall of the Ceausescu government, the partnership idea was again resurrected in the form in which it continues today. The idea is to promote peace, unity, cultural understanding, our shared Unitarian heritage, and to share support. So when I went to Transylvania in August to attend the International Convocation of Unitarian and Universalist Women, I got to travel through some of Unitarian Transylvania and to visit different congregations in different villages. These are places where the people are ethnically Hungarian, religiously Unitarian, but through a quirk of geopolitics are in the country of Romania. Borders are weird. And in church after church, I saw signs of the enduring power and value of the connections between Transylvanian congregations and American congregations. I saw a plaque. I saw a carved wooden pole which has a matching twin in Massachusetts. I saw a memorial to a U.S. minister who had visited often up until his death and was memorialized in Transylvania as he was by a congregation in California. And I knew that U.S. congregations had often helped Transylvanian congregations by raising money to give to the scholarship funds for high school students, and by visiting back and forth to build relationships, because it's often easier for Americans to go to Transylvania than for Transylvanians to come to America. I knew that especially women in these villages made beautiful lace and embroidery, which they sent to congregations here, and I knew that those visiting from the US often went with suitcases full of things that were hard to get in Transylvania, like toothbrushes and Tylenol. But what I didn't know until I visited was that for at least some of these Transylvanian Unitarian congregations, these congregational partnerships saved them. Because in times when their government would have preferred there to be no more of those troublesome Unitarians, in times when the government of Romania did things like pave over the town square to put a giant Romanian Orthodox church in the middle of town, right next to the Unitarian church, and pay out of government funds for a full-time minister for a church which only 5 people attended, in times when the government only permitted Unitarians to send 1 or 2 people from the entire country to seminary each year, for all these efforts to discourage those pesky Unitarians, these congregations in Romania knew that their relationships with congregations in the US kept them safe, because someone outside of the country would know if something happened to them. And this truth manifests itself in other ways too. Do you remember the minister in Burundi, Jacobson-Tennessen Ndagijimana? Well, in 2015, he was arrested by the government of Burundi, persecuted for working for human rights. They claimed it was financial mismanagement of his church. That is not what it was. And other members of his congregation who were protesting the autocratic decision of the president of Burundi to serve an illegal 3rd term as president had to flee the country. And when Jacobson-Tennessen was imprisoned, UUs around the world began calling attention to this. 1,200 UUs signed a petition organized by the Reverend Tet Gallardo of the UU Church of the Philippines calling for his release. UUs everywhere raised money for legal counsel, called their contacts at state departments, did everything they could to bring attention and pressure to bear. And when Jacobson-Tennessen was ultimately released from prison and he and his family were able to travel to Canada, where they sought asylum and where they live to this day, he was asked about his experience, and he said the thing that saved him from a fate of long imprisonment or death was that the government had, and I quote, too much hearing from UUs. That government knew that many people outside of Burundi would know and would care if something happened to him. These relationships that we are in matter deeply. Each of us is called to use our free will to make the world better here and now, and we share this calling across all the branches of our Unitarian Universalist family tree. We are all called to make good bricks that build on each other. We are called to be present in our relatedness, to love our fellow human beings, as the Kasi Unitarians articulate. And so, in the days to come, we know that this may mean more of the role we have often assumed, helping those in need in our communities and our country. Taking action, for example, like supporting the Pink Haven Coalition, a group which is, quote, committed to trans liberation and joy, and to growing community defense, mutual aid, and alternative systems of care for gender diverse people, end quote, including helping people relocate to safer places. Both the UUA and the UU Service Committee are major partners in the Pink Haven Coalition. I encourage you to learn about their work. And it's also true that being present in our relatedness may mean nurturing our connections to other UUs who can help us. People who know what it is like to keep trying to make good bricks and build a better world under a truly repressive government. I take comfort in knowing that we have cousins in faith who have lived through hard times in their own countries and who have wisdom to share. When I attended my first international UU gathering in 2018, when I came home, including to this congregation where I was serving as an intern minister at the time, I told people it is remarkable how different we are from each other, and yet how we recognize what we have in common. It's like going to a family reunion and meeting cousins you never knew you had. So, in these times, discover what you need to do to call on our cousins and draw on our wellsprings of faith, to live out our Unitarian Universalism, to do what we can to make some good bricks and a better world. May it be so. Will you join with me now in a time of meditation or reflection or prayer with these words from my colleague, the Reverend Sarah Lawal, who serves our congregation in Boise, Idaho, and knows a lot about life under a state government that would prefer no UUs. Spirit of life and love, in this time of uncertainty, of fear and angst, our nation holds its collective breath. In this time when rhetoric blusters about and words are used as weapons, our nation clenches its fists, tightens its shoulders, eyes squeezed shut, some preparing for a fight. May we remember we are a people of resilience. We have faced uncertainty before. We have weathered storms. We have been consumed by flames and risen like the phoenix from the ashes, and we will again. We, the people. May we remember our shared humanity, our universal kinship, our interdependence, as we unclench our fists and breathe together, breathing in love and breathing out peace. May we recognize the spark of the divine inside all of us, even those we are not quite sure about. In this time of uncertainty, we remember the good will to go on as we work to move forward together, we the people, seeking that which unites us, with our arms reaching out wide for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and may love prevail. In the name of all that is holy, we pray. Amen.
Freely we receive the gifts which support the needs of this congregation, and gladly we share our bounty. Now, I'm going to try to make this as clear as I can, but please feel free to come up and talk to me afterwards if you're at all confused. So our Share the Plate partner for this month, and continues to be, Family Promise. As we pass the bags or baskets, or what do you want to call them, that collection will be shared with Family Promise as is expected. We also, I'm going to ask you to move to the next slide there, Michael. We are asking for additional contributions for the Throop UU Church and the Neighborhood UU Church of Pasadena. These churches are adversely affected by the fires, And many of their members, I have down that it's over 20 families, have been displaced. They don't know necessarily what's going on with their homes and their possessions, and they don't know when they'll be going back. They need our help. And like our own minister, they have a discretionary fund which can be used to help them out, to help out members who are in these difficult times. We would really, really encourage you to make additional contributions to those funds. And to do that, you can go to their individual websites. How are you going to remember that when you're done? If you go back to last Friday's email blast, you will see the connection in that. Didn't get that, you say? That's okay. Go ahead and contact me or contact Monica, or you could probably contact Sarah. I think she has that too. And we would be happy to send you the contact information so that you can help out these churches, as you know, and any contribution is really helpful. On top of that, I know I'm going into a lot. We're going to have a basket out front where you could drop funds if you want. And Reverend Monica will make sure that those get to there as well. Okay, so I know this is a lot. I'm really sorry about that. If you have any questions, please feel free to see me afterwards. One more thing. As always, we support the Marion Polk Food Bank. And the little red wagon that comes to the front of the sanctuary each week, is available for you to put food and cash contributions in. That said, however you choose to donate, yes? Okay, so the collection basket for the Southern California congregations is going to be at the welcome table in the fellowship hall. Okay, so to whomever or however you choose to make financial supports and contributions, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Every bit of help you can give is deeply appreciated. Thank you so very much.
To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave dare not go, to right the unrightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from afar, to try when your arms are too weary, to reach the unreachable star. This is my quest, to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far, to fight for the right without question or pause, to be willing to march into hell for a heavenly cause. And I know if I'll only be true to this glorious quest, that my heart will lie peaceful and calm when I'm laid to my rest. And the world will be better for this, that one man, scorned and covered with scars, still strove with his last ounce of courage to reach the unreachable stars.
Thank you, Joel. And thank you all for your generous gifts. If you are newer here, you may be noticing that worship is a co-creation in this congregation. It takes many people bringing what they all have to share. And in that spirit, you may also be noticing that on first and third Sundays, the worship service is offered by a member of the congregation who is on our homilists team. Next Sunday, the first Sunday in February, will be the Elegance of Transformation with Sarah Pickett, who in addition to being a page turner at the piano is also a homilist. I am here on second and fourth Sundays, so you get some variety and some consistency. And as Janet mentioned when introducing our offering, we have news of the community available on Fridays via an email that comes out. If you would like to receive that email and are not currently receiving it, at the end of our service, when you go either through the folding wall or through the foyer into Hanneman Hall for our coffee hour, you can visit the welcome table to be sure you are signed up for that email, to put cash or check in the basket that we will move on to those Southern California congregations, and simply to meet some really nice and welcoming folks. We do hope you will stay and join us for coffee and conversation after the service.
I'm going to ask Reverend Monica to bring forward the social justice lantern. We light this lantern each week at the end of our service, and we light it from our community chalice. It is a symbol of the energy and caring and love that you take from this congregation out into the wider community, and that is needed more than ever. So thank you so much. And as we do every week, we end our service by extinguishing the chalices we lit at the beginning. I hope that words were shared today with you that lit a flame, or at least an ember in your heart, that you can carry that until we are together again.
Way out. Though below me I feel no motion, blending on these mountains and plains, far away from the rolling ocean, still my dry land heart can say, I've been sailing all my life now, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home. From the sail and moon my rudder, as I ply the starry sea, leaning over the edge in wonder, casting questions into the deep, drifting here with my ship's companions, all the kindred pilgrim souls, the light of the heavens in our beautiful blue boat home. I give thanks to the waves upholding me, great winds urging me on. Greet the infinite sea before me. Sing the sky my sailor's song. I was born upon the fathoms, never harbor or port have I known. The wide universe is the ocean I travel, and the earth is my blue boat home.
If you are comfortable, I invite you to join hands and join me in saying our closing words. I'll give you half a second here to scooch around till everybody's got a hand to hold. May faith in the spirit of life, hope for the community of earth, and love for the sacred in one another be ours now and in all the days to come.